Right, cinemas struggled over the pandemic, we know that, and the struggle continues for some mainstream sites. Cineworld, for example, are closing 5 UK branches this month, thankfully none here. But in Woodbridge, the independent Riverside Cinema had a really good 2024. Their admissions last year were over 60,000. That's a 10% rise on 2023. Stuart Saunders owns the Riverside Restaurant and Cinema and joins me on the line this morning. Morning, Stuart. This must be
morning.
Very, very good news.
Well, it's great. Yeah, we're heading in the right direction, and you do. And you do worry, especially during COVID. But I kind of always had a positive attitude about it, and it is a charming town with a cinema with everything up to the minute. You know, we have the latest projection and, you know, latest sound system, and it's, you know, very boutique-y. And I think that kind of thing is kind of what works, really. Slightly fortunate to have a fantastic cinema manager who books a nice eclectic mix of things. And, yeah, all good.
I mean, in the same way that if you're a retail outlet, you need to provide something that people can't just get online at home. And with all of the myriad of streaming services and ways that we can be entertained now, like you say, boutique-y, you need to offer a different experience. That's something that is worth leaving the house for.
I think so. I think people like to get together as well. There is one thing that's slightly different, I always think, when I sit in my own cinema on the balcony there looking at a film, is projection. And projection is a magical experience. You can have a massive, great, TV screen, but it's back projection. You know, this is a bright, sort of ugly thing by comparison. With projection, you kind of, you feel like you know the people in the film. It becomes, somehow becomes like more connected, and it's just extra charming. It's stayed the same for years, even though obviously the actual, as I say, laser and all the rest of it's changed, and obviously we're not on film anymore, we're all digital, but it's still projection, and I think that adds something to it. The fact that the screen, of course, is huge and you're very much involved in it, obviously assists too. And then of course you've got the thing where you come out with everybody, and I think people, a bit like having a drink at home, we're having a drink out. Why do we go to the pub? People like to be with people.
Yeah, that's probably a really good analogy as well, and also your it's a kind of intention, isn't it? You go to the cinema, so we went as a family just before Christmas, and we went to see Paddington 3. And, that might not be what we would all have sat together and watched at home, because it's easy to, leave the room and leave people to it and go and have a cup of tea and stuff. But actually, we had, a 7-year-old and a 17-year-old and various others all together enjoying that shared experience and moment. And that's not something that happens
that film is quite an incredible range of age group that we experienced with that film. That's certainly boosted our numbers as well. Did you enjoy the film yourself, John?
I did. There was much debate as to whether it was better than Paddington 2. I think Paddington 2 was such an exceptional film that
I agree.
Very hard to beat, even with a little familiar face cameo at the end. Don't want to give away any spoilers to people who haven't seen it. But another Christmas present was vouchers for another independent cinema in the county. So again, that will get us out to that. And like you talked about the programme having that eclectic mix, we want to see the big new films, but also reviewing the classic. Do you share the streams from the National Theatre and things like that?
We do the streams. We do. We're not sort of tied to anything, so we have a choice, which is quite nice. So we pick and choose within reason. We do also do, we've got Griff Rhys-Jones tonight live on stage. Last Sunday we showed Cinema Paradiso. That's all over 200 people. I mean, that's a 1988 film. That's a great example of, laughter, romance and everything all wrapped into one on the big screen. And people, on a Sunday night, sees over 200 people. It's quite remarkable, really.
What's Griff Rhys-Jones doing tonight?
Well, that's a good question. I'd like to ask him because it's Griff Rhys-Jones on stage. So I think he will just be chatting away, and he's very good at that, believe me.
Fantastic. So, you're looking forward to building on this for 2024. In Woodbridge, I would suggest that you've got people who are interested in keeping local businesses and independent businesses going, you've probably got some quite loyal supporters as well, have you? That makes a difference.
We've definitely got loyal supporters, but I think they actually come because they kind of want to see what we're putting on the screen. I don't think it's a charitable thing, but I suppose we certainly appreciate them coming, and I suppose they kind of enjoy it on their doorstep too. So it all kind of works for both of us, so to speak. It's a small town, really. I think the population is only about 10, 12,000. So when you look at the numbers that we're doing, we're obviously getting people from outside the town as well, because otherwise it's the entire town almost in 1 year, and 3 times, in fact. Quite incredible, really.
Well, good luck for 2025. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Stuart Saunders there from the Riverside Restaurant and Cinema in Woodbridge, who had a very positive 2024, looking ahead to a nice and busy 2025. Maybe if you're doing a dry January and are going to the pub less, it might be that you fancy go along and watching a film, a classic film or a new film, or the streams of the National Theatre performances are really good as well. So have a look at our website and see what you think. Right, it's the time of year when many of us